This is indeed a disturbing universe.
Hello, greetings, and welcome. Welcome to the Stereo 999 YouTube channel. I am your host, the artist formerly known as Stereo Steve. And let me tell you, I'm wondering whether I should even bother with these videos. I mean, the viewership and the engagement is at an all-time low. Who's even watching except for my few friends? Am I reaching out to new people? Do I even have anything interesting to say? I'm like, but you know, that's, just to keep me motivated, I'll have like an ongoing series so I can just have some continuity to it. And it's kind of fallen into a formula, but maybe that's making it more boring. Maybe that's why nobody gives a shaving cream. But I was thinking, and suddenly the light dawned on me. What does every successful YouTube video have that I don't have? And it finally came to me. It's that overused transition that kind of looks like a test pattern and goes Again, if you're new coming here, I started this project a couple weeks ago where I was going to take the years 1953 to the present and talk about one album from each year. And it's not going to be necessarily my favorite album. It's just going to be whatever album I feel like talking about. Also, it's got to be something I have a physical copy of.
1973 Headhunters, Herbie Hancock.
Yeah, this is a classic album from 1973. If you read Miles Davis's autobiography, he said that this album reached the audience that Miles was trying to reach with On the Corner, but On the Corner was a little too weird, and this album was just funky and modern enough to become a big hit. It's got the classic track Chameleon. It's got that wonderful version of Watermelon Man. This is a classic. You can't really go wrong with Herbie Hancock.
1974 Red King Crimson.
Yeah, King Crimson Red. This was the final studio album of the John Wetton, Bill Bruford, Robert Fripp core King Crimson, which I guess there's a trilogy or trifecta, if you will, of albums with Lark's Tongues in Aspic, Starless and Bible Black, and then this. This is the most solid rock experience of those three albums, which get a lot more proggy and experimental. It's got the classic instrumental title track Red, segueing into Fallen Angel. It's also got the song Starless, which you may know from the film Mandy. John Wetton, of course, went on to be in bands named after places such as UK and Asia. And Bill Bruford, in and out of Yes, almost as many times as Rick Wakeman was in and out of Yes. This is a cool pressing. This is a UK pressing with this neat, with this cool Polydor label.
1975 Another Green World Eno.
Yeah, this is Eno's Another Green World. This is a highly regarded album, and for good reason. And you might call this a transitional album. This could be the transition from his earlier rock albums, such as Taking Tiger Mountain, and Here Come the Warm Jets into his ambient music. Because there are some rock tracks and there are some tracks that would fit on his music for films or ambient work. All-star cast of musicians backing him up on this album, including John Cale on viola, Percy Jones on bass, the polarizing Phil Collins on drums, Robert Fripp on guitar, and yeah. But yeah, there's some really relaxing ambient soundscapes, and there's also some really catchy tunes, and then there's stuff that's kind of in between, like The Big Ship. Anyway.
1976, a new world record, Electric Light Orchestra.
Yeah, so I'm kind of going to go back to my childhood, that this record, when I was a kid in that year, was a record that I really dug. I think at one point I was playing with a typewriter, and I made like a ranked listing of albums I was listening to at the time, and decided this would be number one just because I listened to it so much and the songs really stuck with me. But there's some classics on here. Living Thing, Do Ya, which was originally a Move song, Telephone Line, and it's even still got the ad to mail away for an ELO t-shirt.
1977, Marquee Moon Television.
Yeah. And it's weird when you go through the late 70s, I mean, for me anyway, because there are albums that I associate with those years, like the Electric Light Orchestra, and there's albums that I heard about but didn't get to actually hear until years later. I don't think it was until the early 80s that I managed to find a copy of Marquee Moon. This is a later pressing with this red and black Elektra label. The originals had the butterfly label. But these are good pressings with this label. Of course, every old vinyl copy of it, the title track fades down, where like later issues and the CD issues, they have the complete track because they have enough space for the complete track. But yeah, television was part of the long tradition of unconventional, rebellious New York guitar bands, along with the Velvet Underground before them and Sonic Youth after them. But we just lost Tom Verlaine recently, who was the front man, guitar genius. There's a lot of good guitar improvisations, a lot of great songs like See No Evil and Venus and Prove It and Friction, and it's just a solid album. And this is this is evidence that the original New York CBGB's punk scene was not just short, sharp shocks of songs, that there were bands that were actually stretching things out and taking it a little further. Also, this photo of the band was taken by Robert Mapplethorpe, if that means anything to you.
1978, The Scream Susie and the Banshees.
Right. This is a classic. This is the American version of the album that has Hong Kong Garden on it. I think the UK pressing was different. But yeah, this was the debut of Susie and the Banshees, who became an institution later on in the 80s and early 90s. I saw them in '91 at the Lollapalooza. But yeah, this is the more raw punk side of Susie. Remember, a lot of reviews would say that their singles were a lot more consistent than their albums. But this is jam-packed with great songs. Mirage, Metal Postcard, their version of Helter Skelter, It's just some solid early new wave punkiness.
1979 Fleetwood Mac, Tusk.
I could have gone in a lot of directions. As far as 1979 is concerned. But I thought I'd talk about Fleetwood Mac Tusk because they were the undisputed titans of smooth 70s cocaine rock, evolving over the course of 10 or 11 albums from a British blues underground band to the institution that they were by the time Rumors came out. It was the biggest selling record in the history of the English language, and there was no escape from Rumors. Rumors took on a life of its own and made them a lot of money. And so what do you do when you're a successful band with a lot of money? You can either blow it on drugs, but they already did that, and they had some change left over. So they're going to make an ambitious double album and try a bunch of weird stuff like having a marching band on it. And yeah, all these ideas Lindsey Buckingham had kicking around. And so they made this ambitious double album. And here's the thing. This album sold 4 million copies, but they considered it a failure because Rumors sold 40 million copies.
1980 Permanent Waves Rush.
All right, again, another year where a lot of stuff happened, but Rush was kind of a niche band up until this point. There were they had fanatical fans of their high concept prog rock, but they weren't getting played on the radio. They were, if you knew, you knew. This is the album from Rush that won me over. Just the spirit of radio. It was a very catchy song, and I swear that guitar lick came from Everything Works If You Let It by Cheap Trick. It's got that same guitar riff, and I'm gonna need to do some research and figure out which came first. But this has some great progressive rock numbers such as Jacob's Ladder and Natural Science especially. But then it's got catchy tunes like Spirit of Radio and Free Will. But sometime back in the day, I found a cassette of this album, and it ended up getting a lot of rotation in my boombox.
1981 From the Lion's Mouth, The Sound.
Okay, The Sound. The Sound was an English band on the Korova label. And I heard this on KUSF. A friend of mine had it, made me a cassette tape. I eventually found a copy of the record, and I dig it. This is the best album that Echo and the Bunnymen never made.
1982 The Days of Wine and Roses, The Dream Syndicate.
Alright, so this is the debut full-length album from the Dream Syndicate. The original lineup with Steve Wynn on guitar and vocals, Carl Percoda on lead guitar, Kendra Smith on bass and vocal, and Dennis Duck on drums. Actually, as a kid, I saw them in 1982 at the infamous show with the Toiling Midgets and Nico. And the next day, me and my friends went down to find some of their records. But yeah, definitely a very strong Velvet Underground influence. Definitely bucking against the trend of overproduced 80s drums, and this has got the guitars more up front, and it just sounds like a garage band rocking out. The Velvet Underground influence was very apparent, but there were other influences too. I'm sure you're not going to be able to see this, but in the dead wax, there's a hidden message that says pre-motorcycle accident. And what they're referring to is Bob Dylan before his motorcycle accident. Before Bob Dylan's motorcycle accident, he made Blonde on Blonde and Highway 61 Revisited. After he recuperated, then he made John Wesley Harding. But they're still going, and they're still making good records. I mean, it's not all the same people, but still, that's something. All right, so that's 73 to 82 of my 70 years, 70 albums project, and I'll be back. So stick around.
Oh no, you can't leave yet. You gotta have a nice cup of tea with me.
Intermission, the show that asks, how much do you really know about the silver screen? This intermission brought to you by Efferdent. In this 1919 silent classic, an evil doctor hypnotized his victim to carry out his schemes. What's the name of this film? On our 10-point scale, this question has a difficulty rating of 9.
This is KYE San Francisco. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sparta Electronic Corporation is one of the worst electronic companies in the United States, famous throughout the land for the wonderfulness of their machinery and the efficiency of their place and all that stuff. This is KYE San Francisco.
Emergency? Yeah, can you please send rescue to... I think I'm having an overdose, and so is my wife.
Okay, you and your wife?
Yes.
Overdose of what?
Marijuana, but I don't know if it had something in it.
Okay.
Can you please send rescue?
Okay, how old are you?
I'm 29 years old, and my wife is 26. Please come.
26?
Yes, please.
Have you guys been drinking also?
What?
Have you guys been drinking today too?
No, that's it.
No, and is there any weapons in the house?
No, please come.
Okay, we're on our way. Do you guys have fever or anything?
No, I think we're dying.
Okay, how much did you guys have?
Okay, yes. We are bored. We're all bored now. But has it ever occurred to you, Wally, that the process that creates this boredom that we see in the world now may very well be a self-perpetuating, unconscious form of brainwashing created by a world totalitarian government based on money, and that all of this is much more dangerous than one thinks, and it's not just a question of individual survival, Wally, but that somebody who's bored is asleep, and somebody who's asleep will not say no? See, I keep meeting these people. I mean, just a few days ago, I met this man whom I greatly admire. He's a Swedish physicist, Gustav Bjornstrand, and he told me that he no longer watches television, he doesn't read newspapers, and he doesn't read magazines. He's completely cut them out of his life because he really does feel that we're living in some kind of Orwellian nightmare now, and that everything that you hear now contributes to turning you into a robot.
blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah.
Surrealistic sets created a foreboding mood in the German impressionistic film, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
You're watching Bullwinkle's New Year's special on KTVU's 8 o'clock movie special.
55 Franklin, 5.
I'm working too long to get a clown. Action.
Well, I guess there's turning out to be a formula to my videos where the first half is like on a topic or a theme, and then the second half after the intermission is more casual, sometimes two different themes. I don't know. Am I falling into a pigeonhole? Blah, 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 blah. Let me know in the comments. Hey, well, anyway, so today is 4/20, and while I'm waiting for my oven to fire up so I can eat a frozen pizza because I got the munchies, I figure I would talk about some stuff yesterday. Yesterday I was very, very bored, and so I decided to go troll the bargain bins. Went to my usual haunts on Haight Street, Amoeba's Bargain Bin, and Goodwill. The Goodwill kind of jacked up the price of the records a little bit, and I was feeling some remorse. I was feeling some buyer's remorse because a couple things I bought turned out to be duds. I actually made some kind of dumbass rookie mistakes. One of them was just way too scratched up and was skipping, and it was just wishful thinking. And the other one, though I meticulously cleaned it, it was not until I looked close at the label I realized it was the wrong record in the wrong jacket. So I don't know, am I getting prematurely senile, or maybe just wishful thinking that, I didn't look close. So, but the more I've been listening to the stuff that I got that was actually fine and nothing wrong with, the better I felt, because there are actually some good records in this stack of junk that I got. Before I do anything else, I want to say, rest in peace, Ahmad Jamal. His laid-back piano style was a big influence on Miles Davis' laid-back trumpet style. Nature, the Essence, Part 3. And what's really interesting about this is that there's a steel drum player in his group. And there are times when the steel drum and the piano are doing these melodic lines back and forth. It's a neat record, and it's one you don't see all the time. This is in the player, but this is one of those promotional things. I found this at the Goodwill here. Ooh, spoilers. You can see the next record in the reflection. But this is a Band of Horses. They were a cool mid-2000s band that I didn't pay that much attention to back then, but Spotify started throwing their songs at me. And now I've got a compact disc. Of course, I didn't know I was prepping for 420. Maybe it's just kind of a happy ironicalness that I got this record. This is Don Redman. These are recordings from the 30s that were originally on 78s and cleaned up.
Did you ever meet the funny reefer man? You never met the funny reefer man? And yet you say you walk the ocean anytime you take a notion? Yeah, I believe you've seen the reefer man.
Here's one I was pleasantly surprised. This is a good record. Yvonne Elliman, Night Flight. And this album has her big hit, which was the song, If I Can't Have You, I Don't Want Nobody, Baby, which was in Saturday Night Fever. Of course, there's more to her than a one-hit wonder. She had some other hits, like a cover of Hello Stranger on her previous album, and she did a version of I Can't Explain by The Who with Pete Townsend playing guitar on it in one of her very early albums. And she was Mary Magdalene in Jesus Christ Superstar for several years. Yeah, she was part Japanese, born and raised in Hawaii. And besides the big disco hit, there's some very smooth yacht rock tracks on this album. In a Stranger's Arms is smooth, has a great horn solo. And there's a great version of Sally Go Round the Roses. So yeah, and she got to be friends with Ian Gillan from Jesus Christ Superstar, because he played Jesus in the original cast album. So he helped her get a record deal. Another band that is vaguely Deep Purple related. This is a band called Straps, an English rock band with an Australian singer. It's kind of an obscure Harvest Records title, but yeah, they did a couple of tours opening for Deep Purple in the mid-70s, and got Ian Gillan and Roger Glover to help them out a bit. This is a pretty good rock record. I only listened to it once, so I don't have that strong of an opinion. But yeah. All right, it's not Beck. But this is the Mellow Gold 3-record set compilation, Warner Brothers Special Products. And this is some pretty mellow stuff. It's also got a few 60s tunes in there too, but it's got Gordon Lightfoot, but then it's also got Aretha Franklin. It's got Wilson Pickett's version of Hey Jude, which has Duane Allman playing guitar. Carly Simon, ABBA, Seals and Crofts, Sonny and Cher, Hall & Oates. Yeah, that's some mellow gold. Blog Wallum in my reverse vision I'm seeing on the selfie phone. All right. This is Count Basie and his orchestra. Pop Goes the Basie. And he's doing some pop songs. He does Do Wah Diddy, Bye Bye Love, Walk Right In, Your Cheating Heart, and all in his inimitable swing style. It is the Count Basie Orchestra that appears in Blazing Saddles, and I've heard several YouTubers say Count Basie. No, it's Count Basie, and he's the man. Not only that, but there is like a swing version of Roy Orbison, Pretty Woman, sung by Leon Thomas on this. Yeah. This is another one of those reissues of old 78 jazz records. Zoot Sims, Al Cohn, James Moody. And you look at the cover and you think it's all three of them playing together. But actually it's not. It's actually, the first side is James Moody. And the second side has some tracks by Zoot Sims and some tracks by Al Cohn. Zoot Sims, Al Cohn on the second side. Last but not least, I've been on kind of a Dave Brubeck kick for a while. I never checked out the later stuff, and this was at Goodwill. 25-year anniversary reunion from 1976. And it's a live recording, and it's the original quartet that made the classic stuff. Joe Murillo, Paul Desmond, Eugene Wright, and of course Dave Brubeck. And it's on the A&M Horizon label. Okay, so yeah, so that's my 420 listening jazz reefer music. And all right, I'm gonna go drop that pizza in. Thanks for watching. See you later. Goodbye.
To order COD, call toll-free 1-800-228-2030. Operators are on duty now. That's 1-800-228-2030.
Hey! Cut. That was good. We can use that.
Save it, please.